Ludwik Lizar Zamenhof was born in 19th century Białystok, Poland, a place and time where he was constantly exposed to different languages and the rifts between the people who spoke them. Of his hometown, he said, "Every step made me feel that men did not exist. Only Russians, Poles, Germans, Jews, and so on." He believed that the language barrier that separated these groups was a root cause of strife between them. Inspired by languages like his native Yiddish, which is a mishmash of Russian, Hebrew, German, and several other languages, he sought to build an additional auxiliary language that could be used for inter-ethnic communication. He premiered his first attempt at a birthday party in 1878, calling it the Lingua Universala. It never got off the ground, but he persisted. After a decade of hard work and experimentation, he believed he had built what would become a proper language. In 1887, he published his work in a pamphlet entitled The International Language. Rather than publish it under his own name, he used a pseudonym, Doktoro Esperanto. Zamenhof designed what would become known as Esperanto with three major rules in mind. First, it had to be simple. This language was supposed to be one that you learned in addition to your native language in order to carry out inter-ethnic conversation. To get many people to learn it, it had to be fairly easy to get the hang of. That meant there could be no weird rules or exceptions that would make it frustrating to learn. Second, it should be flexible. If it was going to serve its purpose, the language had to fit a wide variety of situations and needed the ability to evolve over time. English speakers don't use the thorn letter after all, so one shouldn't tie down learners and future speakers with Byzantine rules. And finally, third, it had to be neutral and non-imperial. It cannot be based on any single language, so no revived Latin, Greek, or pidginized European language. While Esperanto borrowed vocabulary and grammar from other languages, no single language is favored over another. The resulting language became an instant hit. Within his original pamphlet, he included a note asking people to send him confirmation that they would learn the language if 1 million others did the same. Though he fell far short of this goal, many still took up his call and learned the language anyway. Over the next century, Esperanto would be used by groups ranging from anarchists in the salons of Paris to high-ranking figures in the Soviet government. In the 1920s, the language was proposed as a universal auxiliary language in the League of Nations, and bills were submitted to encourage Esperanto education in the world's classrooms. Unfortunately for Esperanto, these motions never made it out of committee. However, the 1954 Montevideo Resolution of the United Nations endorsed Esperanto as an auxiliary language, giving it credibility over the many other such languages that came before it. Today, Esperanto is spoken by hundreds of thousands of people across the world, and millions more are studying the language either online or in person. As the world becomes more united through trade and other media, Zamenhof's Finavenko, the final victory in which all on Earth are united by Esperanto, may one day be achieved. This video was largely based on Esther Schor's 2016 book, Bridge of Words. It's a very deep dive into the history of Esperanto, and features a lot of things that didn't make it into this video. I've left a link to it in the description below, and I'd highly recommend giving it a read.